The way Josh has lived his life has been like a warrior, and I can say that in the sense of the true definition of warrior. People use that word lightly and say it across all kinds of efforts. Not when someone says, man, Matt Frazier is a warrior on the floor. He's not a warrior. Josh Bridges was a fucking warrior. He went to battle and he went to war for our services and for our country at the highest fucking level of soldiering. And therefore, when someone says the word warrior to Josh Bridges, he truly is one.
I was born in Alton, Illinois. Was raised by my mom for the most part. She put food on our table. She put a roof over our heads, and she did not have a lot of money. She didn't even have a high school degree. My mom had a lot to do with showing me like what hard work was, what getting the job done meant. And our grandpa took care of us a lot while my mom was working. And we played a lot of sports. And really that was, my childhood, a lot of sports, a lot of being outside. I think I loved competing. As a kid, I always wanted to be a Major League Baseball player. That was what I wanted to do. I think sports helps with life in general. You're gonna suffer failures in sport. If you can't get through those moments, it's gonna transition into your other parts of your life. My parents went through a rough divorce, and that wasn't an easy thing to watch. I saw things that you don't want your kids to see, that's for sure. So I always remember it being like, this is the example that I don't want to be like. And I always remember telling my head, instead of being bitter and thinking that I got the shit into the stick, being like, you know what, I can take these lessons and I can learn from them and grow from them. And I tried to spin it into a way where it was good instead of bad. Kind of went down a little bit of a wrong path. As I got into high school, I followed along with my brother who quit baseball, and I quit baseball, and I was like, I'll just focus on wrestling. And so at that point, then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go wrestle in college. That's what I want to do. And so we did it. I went to college and wrestled at a small NAI school, and I ended up dropping out of college after a year, thinking that I wanted to go into the business world. At first, I got a job with SPC, which is the phone company, AT&T now, and doing telemarketing. So that was awful. And then I just remember sitting in a cubicle thinking is this my life for the next 40 years? And I was like, this is not what I want to do. This is not where I want to be. A buddy of mine who started working there at the company with me was like, hey, I'm gonna go be a Navy SEAL, and this is how these guys train sometimes. Some of these guys train with CrossFit. The military was something that I always thought about. I was like, all right, I think I'm at that time in my life. I was 23, and I was like, I'm gonna give myself a year to train for this, and then I'm gonna go in. I was nervous, but I was ready for it. And so when I got to Buds, then is when I really was like, yes, this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be. And my mindset was they're not going to do anything that's going to ever make me quit. There's no way. I'll die. I'll die before I quit.
Proof is in the pudding, I've been putting in the rougher. Work that they don't want to do, that's why.
His attitude in training was always just like a bowling ball. He just rolled through everything. He didn't have any issues with anything or anyone, and he just went full speed ahead. and just crushed everything that was put in front of him. One of the things I would take the students on is weekly rucks across the training facility. And we'd put on 40 to 50 pounds, and we'd go on these long, grueling hikes through the hills. And my whole intent with it was to drop everybody. So we'd start off, and I'd set the pace, and the students would follow. And as it'd go on, less and less of them would be with me in the front of the pack because they just couldn't hang with the pace that I was putting them on. He never fell back. And there were some runs where he was the only guy who I'd turn around towards the end of the run, and he was right there with a big grin on his face because he knew I wasn't going to be able to shake him. And I tried every time to shake him, but that wasn't going to happen.
I remember just about every ruck run that Dave put us through. He put us through some of the nastiest ruck runs. We were getting back towards the finish because we knew where we were going to finish at. And Dave takes off up this hill, and I think there was like 3 or 4 of us that like actually end up passing him. And he came up to the three of us, I think, and was like, "Hey, good job, man." Like, which Dave never did any of that. There was never a "Hey, good job" very often from Dave. But then once you graduate and you become you get your trident and you become a SEAL, it's a really good feeling. I graduated SKT and deployed about 8 days later to Iraq with SEAL Team 3. Chris Kyle was actually my first LPO overseas, and that was really cool because obviously the platoon that I met out there had a insane amount of experience, and so we went and going to Iraq, went to Fallujah. That was my second deployment, second actual platoon. We ended up doing a workup, and we went to Afghanistan the second time. So gained some different perspective. You saw things that, it was just it's kind of tough to explain, I guess. I don't know. You definitely saw some things, and you built some camaraderie with some guys that you never really would if you weren't in a situation like that. It was a hard time. It was a fun time, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm glad that I got to go over and serve my country and go over there and fight for us. I guess I always try to go back to a quote where it says, "Never be sorry for the things that you have to go through in your experience in your life. Be thankful that you had to experience them, other men didn't have to experience them." I'm glad I got to do that, and it was tough, and there's definitely things that most people shouldn't see. So, but I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was part of it, and proud of what me and our platoons did. So, yeah. So I was still in a platoon, working up to deploy. Like, we would be doing land warfare training for, 3-hour periods, like 3 times a day. And in between those, everyone's coming in. We get like a 2-hour break, and everyone's like coming in, napping and eating. And instead of napping and eating, I would go into the gym and work out. Or even inside the teams, I still wanted to compete in something. I was doing CrossFit anyway. And I was following the sport. I watched who these guys were, and I was like, man, I think I could hang with these guys.
A very impressive pace by Josh Bridges on the front squat, who's nearly 40 pounds lighter than Chan and Froning.
I wasn't nervous with anybody. These people are just men. That's all they are.
Josh Bridges has now overtaken Rich Froning and Matt Chan for the lead. Josh Bridges, your current leader. He's going to be the winner of this heat. Josh Bridges overtakes 2 athletes to win.
Unbelievable performance on the final pass of the cage by Josh Bridges.
Rich Froning comes in
I
second.
think of Navy SEALs, you think physical athlete. I wasn't surprised whatsoever. I mean, especially from a mental side, and there's such a huge mental component to what we do. He's going to suffer, and he's okay suffering. And as far as physically, I mean, could just go with the best of them. And so Josh is an incredible athlete all the way around.
2011 was my first time competing. I did the Open. I took second worldwide. I went to my regional. I won the regional, and then I took second at the games. I was upset with second place. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I wasn't even happy when I left. I was like, I wanted first place. I wanted to come here and win.
It was easy for people to rally behind him as a SEAL, still doing deployment, still doing his job, and being able to make it. And people really connected with his emotions, with how emotional he was. You know, when he was happy, you knew he was happy. He was screaming and he was pumping his fists, and when he didn't do good, he let the world know. He won the fans over and he won the community over because of that fight and because of the confidence he had in himself.
Josh Bridges will not quit. Neither will Rich Froning. Bridges is done first. Josh Bridges under the lights does it again.
Josh's mentality is a never quit mentality. Whatever challenge he's put in front of him, and he's going to go after it. And Josh says he's going to do it. I think he can do it.
Every time that you go through an experience that's hard and you don't give up on it, you don't quit on it, you put it in, it's like a savings account, right? It's like, right now I have the confidence. Now I'm just building my confidence up. It becomes like, it's not an option anymore. Now it's like, there is no choice. There isn't two ways. I can't quit or I can't quit. It's like, no, there's no quit in this anymore.
Josh was a significant player to the growth of the sport. People really connect with him. It's his size. People know he's the underdog.
He doesn't like to be told things like he's the oldest and the shortest. He's gonna use that as fire had he seen it.
Sorry, Josh.
Hey, facts are facts.
A lot of people look at me and be like, oh, he's just a small guy. He's good at the small guy workouts in CrossFit. He's not going to do well. And then, you know, you get on the podium and you're like, okay, yeah, you're right. You win an event at the games, that means you're the best in the world at it. Like that event right there that they just wrote up, like you're the best in the world. That feels really good. It feels really damn good.
Murph was another great moment of him just being able to shine.
In my head, I was like, I'm going to win this workout.
Josh Bridges, 8th career event win as he takes Murph.
There it is. There's that howl. There's the Josh Bridges howl.
That was really cool to see, you know, a fellow former Navy SEAL in an event that's named after a SEAL with body armor at the CrossFit Games and beat the entire field. The last few games he was there, he should not have been there. And I don't mean that in terms of his ability, I just mean that in terms of, like, he beat the odds. He was too old to have qualified to make it to the games. That's his fight and that's his stubbornness. Josh is a legend in the sport. If we had a Hall of Fame, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
Like I enjoy going the hard path. I enjoy taking the harder route. Normal people are like, oh, you're 36, you're done. Fuck you. If I listened to anybody that said I couldn't do the things that I've done, I wouldn't make it through BUDS. I wouldn't make it through SKT. I wouldn't become a SEAL. I'd still be a loan officer. There are no excuses. If you want something in life, you get what you earn. And if you don't, you're gonna get what you earn as well there.